All right, hey everyone. Welcome back to Transforming Conflict into Connection. Let me make sure I've got all my stuff up. All right. Thank you all so much for being here today for our Communicating Compassionately Nonviolent Communication lesson. I'd like to say welcome again to everyone. We are so excited to continue creating this healing space with you. We have already learned so much in the first workshop and that first healing circle, but there's still so much more for us to go. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get dived in here. Again, everyone, my name is Angel D'Angelo, pronouns he, him, and I'm with Restorative Justice Coalition. This is co-hosted by Erdeja. During the first workshop, we grounded ourselves in the framework of abolition, our problem of domination culture, and our practice of liberation logic. We began to unlearn domination behaviors and practice liberation, and extended this practice as a liberation tool known as nonviolent communication. Today, we will continue honing this tool of NVC, spending most of our time today practicing and reflecting. We will first review some of what we covered in the last workshop, but we do encourage, if you haven't already, we do encourage you to look in the workbook for information from the first workshop. We will dive deeper into needs and requests today. We'll discuss how to respond in nonviolent communication. We'll play a short dialogue game, and we'll end with a breakout group activity, similar to how we intended to end the first workshop. Anyone have any questions, comments, or any issues with the sounds at this point in time? You can either type it in the chat or unmute and call my attention. All right, if at any time you do, please send a message. If you don't feel comfortable saying it for the whole group, you can PM Erdeja or myself, and we'll address it as quickly as possible. This time we did add the workbook page numbers to the slides to make it easier for you to follow along as someone requested that we do that. So please feel free to let us know after this workshop any way that we can improve the workshop, because we want to make it the best experience for everybody as much as we can. Let's do a quick check-in now using just the chat feature. Using the chat, thinking about the time since we last gathered, which feels like a long time ago, but it was only about a month. Drop a double exclamation point in the chat if you've been more aware about how you are in conversation since the last workshop. Erdeja does have that on the screen as well. All right. And I'm going to verbally say double exclamation point because I've been more aware in it, not just in physical conversations, but online. All right, awesome. I'm happy to see all these exclamation points. It looks like folks are really making an effort. Remember, this is a practice. So I hope no one in here is beating themselves up too hard if they didn't get it right every time. Now, if you are able to choose a word and write it on a sticky note for you to keep, and then drop that word in the chat, is this just I'm sorry, Erdeja, I must have messed up my note. Is this just a word about how we're feeling today or about how we feel about the...
Oh, in the on your own practice, it suggested writing a word that like an intention that you wanted to show up in conversation. So if people were able to do that, you can drop that word in the chat. I chose a few different words since the last time we met. 1 week I chose abundance, and another one I chose alignment. Yeah, I thought about it a little bit more in conversation those weeks, so it was helpful. I definitely do suggest doing that. I just wrote it on a sticky note, stuck it on my mirror in my bathroom.
That's a good idea, and I think for the issue I was talking to you about before the workshop, I need to put a sticky note somewhere where I can see it at work when I'm dealing with those uncomfortable conversations. So if anyone wants to share a word or two about kind of a goal or an intention you have with your nonviolent communication, feel free to drop that in the chat. I'll give everyone a few seconds. All right, no problem if you don't have any. Oh, we got something restorative. Thank you, Bill. I like that word a lot, as you could imagine. All right, well, feel free to type in a word at any point. I'm going to go ahead and move forward to the next little ask we have here. If you notice that you've judged yourself harshly, drop an asterisk in the chat. Drop an asterisk in the chat if you were able to catch yourself judging yourself harshly. I'm going to put 2 asterisks. Okay. Looks like I'm not alone here. Okay. All right. All right. Feel free to continue doing that. Think about some of the feelings that came up when you were judging yourself harshly and drop one of those feelings in the chat. So, a word to describe how you feel: shame. Okay. Agitated. Wow. Annoyed. Stressed. Oh, I see weak. Angry. All right. Irritated. Thank you all for participating in that. Now what I'd like to do is take 2 minutes and just reflect on how we've been since the last workshop. In your workbook, this is workbook prompt number 6. If you can, think about one situation and or conversation where you judged yourself or or another person harshly or reacted aggressively in the past month, and state an observation, a feeling, and a need that you had. We'll go ahead and start the 2 minutes now, and just go ahead and reflect on that in your workbook. Feel free to comment in the chat as well if you feel comfortable. Welcome to those just joining us. We're just working on a workbook prompt right now. So if you have your workbook, feel free to just work on that for a couple minutes. About another minute left.
Sorry about that, y'all. The timer went off and I like freaked out for a second. Yeah, the timer did go off. So do you, I can just keep talking or you want to just?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So we were going to do breakout groups for the next part, which we're just going to be like 10 more minutes of talking, reflecting on how we have been in conversation, what we've noticed of ourselves in conversation since the last workshop. But we wanted to ask if you all preferred to do breakout groups of about like five people, or if you just want to just all talk in here, so people can share about what they've noticed about themselves. You can just drop either or in the chat if you feel strongly a certain way. If you really don't want to do breakout groups, this is your time.
Yeah, whichever works for you all. We're comfortable either way. We've got one that wants to talk as a group, a couple discussions here. And if you're the type that could live with it either way, let us know that as well. Okay. 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 Thank you. So it's looking like we have a consensus forming that to discuss in here. No objections seen. So do you want to continue this next part in here, Deja?
Yes, that's fine. And so anyone can get us started. Either like something that you were starting to write for your workbook prompt, something that just came up. Thinking about times we've judged ourselves harshly or someone else harshly, or reacted aggressively. I could share, but let's. I'm gonna wait a second. See if y'all got something.
You want to hear if yours is the worst story, or someone's got a worse story, Okay. While folks are kind of thinking about it, I'll share quickly that I had a couple interactions where I actually chose, I chose A, to think before I respond, which is not something I'm very skilled at. I'm typically quick to respond, but I thought about it and I said to myself, this is something that bothered me and I'm feeling something, but I have yet to identify the need. Like, why am I bothered? Why am I feeling this feeling? So I chose not to respond until I could identify the need, because I would then be able to be informed as to why I was telling them they bothered me. So if I would have just responded the old way, which is just to jump right out, word vomit, and talk before I even know what I need, how are they going to know what I need? So I thought about it. And actually, one of the situations I wound up not even addressing, because I realized after the end that the energy it would take to address it was more laborsome than the actual need I had identified. It was just something that I could let go. So that's my little share.
I'll go. Hi everyone, my name is Belle. She, her. Um, Recently I've been going through a lot, so something that I've noticed based on some situations that I've encountered, um, a need that I have is the need to be acknowledged. Um, I feel like I don't have any problems with and I might be biased because I'm myself, but I'm trying my best, but I've noticed that I acknowledge a lot of people's feelings around me and I take time to listen and care. But then when it's my turn to go through a hard experience or um, just, I'm human. So if I'm going through a lot, I don't feel acknowledged or I feel like me as a person um, and my needs are not being considered even when I express them. Even when I put healthy boundaries up, people tend to walk over those boundaries or just not give a flying fig about them. Um, so I just simply have noticed that instead of canceling someone completely, I just try to step away and give myself time to respond or show them any type of acknowledgement.
Thank you so much, Belle, for that share. Anyone else have kind of similar or even completely different experience?
Hi there. This is my first time joining a meeting. So please let me know if there's any type of like way we do this. but I can share my experience that I've had within the last few weeks regarding nonviolent communication. I had a friend that I was having some communication issues with. And I thought about it. I spent a few weeks like working through like what made me uncomfortable and like what I needed. And I brought it up in conversation. And I told them like, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I need in order to feel more comfortable and to feel more secure. And the friend was like, yeah, we should talk about that. In the beginning of the conversation, they were really dismissive. And so instead of like immediately lashing out, I felt a lot of anger, but I didn't lash out. I was like, okay, let me take some time to sit in this and to work through it. And then so I was like, I feel like what I need in this friendship is to have conversation around this and to build trust in this area. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's talk about that. But then the next day, there was something that came up. Um, and it felt like I wasn't really considered in the decision. And so be, because we had the conversation about what I needed, and then the follow up, it felt like I wasn't being considered. I like lashed out, and I was like expressing like what about it made me feel uncomfortable. I did it in a way that was pretty aggressive, and so then the friend just kind of shut down and was like, you know what? I think we should just not be in communication. Um, but they said it like not in a way of like, oh, like it was like, I'm shutting down this conversation and I think we should just be friends later. But it was in a way that didn't really leave room for us to have communication. So then what I said I needed before was then we're now in a situation where there's not even room at all for us to talk about what I need. So then I felt really I just like felt really shut out of the conversation. In both conversations. In the first conversation, I said, "This is what I need in our friendship in order to feel secure." And then in the second conversation, after I expressed, "Hey, this is what makes me uncomfortable about what's happening here," they were just kind of like, "Okay, well, like I'm just not going to do any of the healing work with you." So that was hard, and I've been trying to think about how I can move through situations in the future where I express what I need, and then later, like it's not considered and there's not a chance to move forward in that area.
Thank you so much for that share. And it reminds me of a quote I heard from a RJ practitioner that was quoting Prentice Hemphill that said something to the effect of boundaries are the distance in which I can love you and myself simultaneously. And I struggle a lot with what I have always called love and detach when I'm in a situation where I'm setting a boundary in clear, language, set it and it gets violated. And, human in them, they violate it once. Okay, let's talk about it again. Second time, third time, fourth time. You only get like 789 chances with me and then you're done. But finally it's to a point where I need to step back sometimes and be like, you know what? In order to love me and you at the same time, I have to enforce this boundary. And since you're not doing, the end of it that I was hoping you would, I can control myself by saying we just gonna have to step away, split, whatever for a while. So I relate a lot to that. Thank you.
I have something. If no one else wants, okay. Um, yeah, this is something that I've been noticing about how when I judge other people harshly, um, in particular, um, uh, yeah, I would say this mainly happens with my boyfriend because I'm usually we live together, so I'm around him a lot of the time, and when he gets upset, I'm usually there. So yeah, I have noticed that when he is like really upset, I am like saying or like judging so hard, diagnosing so hard in my head, like there's no reason for him to be upset. Like he's doing so much, he's doing too much. Why is he doing all this? Like, I wrote some things down. Let me refer to it. I like even like blaming too at a point. I'm like, this is well, okay, well, this is his fault at this point. Um, yeah, and I kind of caught myself one time when it was don't know what's happening, when I was like, there's no reason for him to be upset. And I was like the audacity of me to like say that. Because I know if I was like upset, and if someone were to be like, you're doing way too much, I would like, yeah. So that really helped me like put it in like no matter like what the other person is doing at whatever point, it's never my like decision, my diagnosis to say, oh well, they're doing too much. Yeah, I mean I can still think about like my needs and my boundaries, but it's still like not my judgment to make.
Thank you for that. And I hear that, like the audacity of me, that like tickled me, because it's like I have some audacity, because if someone told me I was doing too much, they're going to see what too much looks like right after that. So do we still have time for a few more, or should we?
Yeah, it's like 5:30 for this, so like 5 more minutes.
I wanted to chime in something if I could.
Please do.
My name is Moon, she, her. And unfortunately, I missed the first session, so I'm kind of riding along here. I hope I don't mess up here. But one of the things when Erdisha was just saying, you started to say, when I judge others, and it reminded me of something that I've realized along the way, that when I'm judging others, I am judging myself, and vice versa. That tends to really be true. And with boundaries, a boundary is not a bulletproof fence that someone cannot come through. The boundary is for me, and it's important to hear me standing up for myself. Sometimes it takes being a broken record before someone actually hears it. And you're absolutely right. If someone doesn't respect it, never respects it, abuses you for it, time to leave, in my opinion. So, okay, I'll stop there.
Thank you so much. Quincy, please unmute if you're ready.
I just wanted to say, like, looking at myself, and something that I struggle with is like the negative self-talk, and like doing the exercise here. You know, I know that the need is validation, and we can talk about like, you know, boundaries with other people, but I don't know how to have these boundaries within myself, like to protect myself from, you know, me. And so that's definitely like a struggle. I know I need to validate myself, but being able to do that is this fish cycle that I haven't been able to conquer.
Thank you so much for that, Quincy. And man, I am the biggest boundary violator of myself, so I relate to that pretty hardcore. For anyone that might be have joining in a little bit late, we're just kind of going over between the last time we met, and if you weren't here, that was in January. So basically any time in 2021 where you've caught yourself judging yourself or another person harshly in a conversation, and what your thoughts about that judgment are.
Yeah, actually, what Quincy just said kind of related to that. I've been trying to tell myself more and more, like saying the statement, "This is what feeling blank feels like," and like putting whatever I feel in there. Because I think in thinking about like validation, I think sometimes for myself, like I am feeling some sort of way and like haven't said that, validated that for myself. So I'm like lashing out, and maybe I'm doing too much or whatever, or just is really just not validating the feeling, when I could just be like, yeah, this is what the feeling is, and then like also thinking about what the need is. Yeah, so it's wild when even when I'm like I'm confused, like I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm like, this is what feeling confused feels like, not knowing what I feel like feels like, and I'm like, oh, that's actually okay. It's wild, like that little moment where it's, you know, like, damn, and I'm still here breathing. Well, okay.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I noticed that a lot of times when I'm confused, which is a lot, um, that comes out in the form of frustration or anger sometimes even. And I'm just like, why am I so mad? And who am I mad at? And who can I blame for confusing me? Sometimes it is because the way someone communicated to me that it was confusing, but I'm like acting like they intended to like confuse me, like because I'm so mad that I didn't understand the directions. I'm really mad at me, and I'm embarrassed at me.
Yeah, we can go ahead and jump into the presentation. If
All
I'll
right.
give it a few more seconds though to say some any last things.
Yeah, awesome. So if anyone has a few last kind of wrap up remarks on that, we'll go ahead and move to the next part. I do want to thank everyone who shared. I know it's not easy to share in a group full of folks, so that's much appreciated. We'll be practicing and reflecting this entire workshop, so get ready to really apply this knowledge even more, hopefully, after this workshop. Deja, I think you're taking on this part.
Yes, I'm trying to share. Right here. Okay. Great, cool. Yeah, thanks so much for everyone who shared. If you weren't able to be at the first workshop, we're actually going to review a little bit of what we talked about at the first workshop for about like 20 minutes. So it was like a 2.5 hour workshop. Definitely not all of it, but hopefully hitting some high points. And we're going to be watching some videos. So I'm excited to see what we can learn together. So to begin, at the first workshop, we talked about domination logic, and how it is a way of life that uses force to meet needs, and that ultimately seeks power over other things rather than power with or power within. It is a way of life that makes violence and domination easy and attractive, hence domination logic. Like I said, these are just the highlights of them, because we saw like a whole document talking about domination logic. Um, but you can just start to think about some of the implications of this. It's saying everywhere from like the fundamental how we speak and relate to each other, all the way to whole systems and structures of society. So we use domination logic in our communication on the day to day, which is exactly what we were just talking about. But also, domination logic is in systems like white supremacy, like capitalism, like patriarchy. Um, yeah, hence we internalize those systems, we become domination logic, we embody those things, and we're here to unlearn that. We are actually going to watch a clip of Marshall Rosenberg, who is the psychologist who kind of like formalized nonviolent communication way back in like the 60s or 70s, I think. This is a workshop that he did in the early 2000s. We're going to watch a few clips from it. This one in particular kind of covers domination logic and how it makes violence and domination attractive and in a way of life. It's just 2 minutes. So hopefully, I don't think I shared my sound actually. Okay, give me a second, y'all. Share sound. And you just start to really try to think about what he is saying here. Welcome all thoughts and things in the chat, and then we have some time to talk about it in a second. It's loading up.
Frame our objectives in getting rid of something, it leads to violence very often. It makes violence seem attractive when we try to get rid of something. For example, I was working with some teachers in a school in Rockford, Illinois. Their observable behavior they wanted to work on is, on the average, every 3 months, 38 broken windows in the school. So we got down to the request. I said, what do you want different from the students? It's obvious, we don't want them breaking windows. So you're saying you don't want the children breaking windows? Yes. What should we do? Kill them. Research has demonstrated dead children break no windows. Almost any time we think of what we want to get rid of, it makes violence look attractive. And as stupid as that example was I just gave you, look in the newspaper on any given day and see how many world leaders are saying we're going to teach them not to, we're going to get them to stop. And they think violence is going to, see, it always makes violence seem attractive to. It's only, as I said earlier, when we get two questions clear. What do we want people to do? And what do we want their reasons to be for doing it? Then I think we'll see violence never works. Okay.
Right. I want to name that he did use the word stupid. That's word that is very ableist. Wouldn't use that word to describe the example he used. I would say definitely a funny, humorous example that he laid out. But I think like our society is a blown up version of this, as he mentioned, not only in things like war, but also literally in the prison system. It is the ultimate extreme of teaching someone not to do something by using violence. And even in the research which justifies policing is literally exactly that. It's like, well, studies show that if you put people on the streets with guns and the discretion to kill, then crime goes down. It's like, well, of course, if we put anyone on the corner with guns, then probably crime won't happen on that corner. So yeah, again, domination logic really just makes domination attractive and a viable solution to any and everything, to all of our problems, all of them. Which is also why cops are cops are our only response to any crisis situation, because they're like our only response is to literally the person with the gun and discretion to kill. So yeah, that's a kind of a recap of domination logic. It is about power over, it is about forcing, about punishing, about labeling good, bad, right, wrong. Yeah, all those things. I can't see the chat, so if I need to stop anytime, Angel, just let me know.
Definitely.
Oh, don't want that again. Go to the next slide.
Frame our objectives and get frame our objectives.
I'm showing us the next slide. Okay, cool. So yeah, we also at the last workshop introduced nonviolent communication, which we are thinking of as our first tool of liberation, nonviolent communication or compassionate communication. Yeah, it's all about not forcing others into doing things. Actually, the point of compassionate communication is to create and sustain a connection deep enough to meet all of our needs, a connection deep enough to honor what is actually alive in us. And so nonviolent communication holds that our needs are what is alive in us. And by connecting to those needs, yeah, that we're actually able to address, restore, and transform any conflict. Yeah, and I'm like, that's really what liberation is, like getting in touch with our needs, being in connection deep enough for us to meet those needs. Again, not about forcing someone to do anything at all, not about like changing or yeah, none of those things. It's literally about fostering the connection and uncovering needs. And the two questions that we sort of are always asking ourselves in nonviolent communication is, what do we want people to do? And what do we want their reason to be when they do it? So yeah, we obviously want people to meet our needs, but we don't want that reason to be because we force them to, because they'll feel shame if they don't, because they'll die or be disposed of if they don't. We want people to meet our needs because it also meets their needs. It's like a mutually giving connection. Again, so liberating for me to just even talk about and imagine. Yeah, and then I just stumbled upon this quote from Marsha Rosenberg that I think, puts violence, is a really interesting way to think of violence. So all violence is the result of people tricking themselves into believing that their pain derives from other people and that consequently those people deserve to be punished. And I'm like, whew, that's a whole lot there, what he just said. Because yeah, exactly.
Can I ask a question or / make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of making me think too, like sort of like on the back end for people who are codependent like me might read that as initially like, oh, so I can't enforce a boundary because that's saying someone needs to be punished because of this or that. And it's like, why understanding punishment versus consequences, which is a subject, we're going to talk to later on in the series, is so important. So I just am saying that to say, like, enforcing a boundary sometimes may feel or may be depicted as being a punishment, but it's not necessarily the case if you are doing so to meet your own needs and possibly the needs of others. What do you think about that, Deja?
No, I think this, definitely a conversation to be had about like what exactly punishment is and how, like, both we're trying to imagine not punishment and we are still like embedded in these systems that like encourage and reward punishment at every turn. And so like, we have to be constantly making sure that, the conversation around boundaries and that isn't like infiltrated with the punishment shit, basically. I don't have a better way to say that, but yeah.
You're hitting the spot, and it's sort of like real quick. Something I went through was someone using like the word boundaries and the word needs, and sort of you kind of brought it up in the feedback you were giving me about the thing, like misusing the word need, which sometimes is done unintentionally to actually dominate and control over someone and say, hey, I need you to do X thing that person doesn't actually need to or want to do. Otherwise, you're not meeting my needs and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow, we really can use even systems of justice and liberation can become domination logics if we're not careful.
Yes, yes, all of that. And we're going to get to needs today, and then talk more about like boundaries and consequences and stuff. I get the last 3 workshops too. So definitely like this is, don't want to present this as like, I don't know how to say this. This is not like some peace kumbaya thing. Like I understand the reality of violence. We definitely do understand the reality of violence. And complicated conversations. So this clip is another one from Marsha Rosenberg, who just explains like why the point of nonviolent communication has to be fostering connection. And actually, it does show like how easy the punishing, the domination logic like gets into, even as they're talking about nonviolent communication. So this is perfect clips. And it's just a few more minutes too, just 2 minutes.
When I told him I was coming here, he said, well, why don't you go? I have a couple of appointments. Maybe you could teach me something.
I should have gave this preference. This guy is talking. He was at a prior workshop of Marsha Rosenberg, and he's at another one. And he's talking about his son who he wants to also be learning nonviolent communication. Okay, hopefully it still makes sense.
So I thought I would come to learn something. Maybe I could teach him. But I'd like to teach him, and I don't know how to do that. I'd like to teach him to at least give me the time of day to communicate with him. He doesn't do that willingly. Okay. And when I try to demand it, it becomes worse.
Yes.
So how do I do that?
Well, that'll be a good situation to work on today, because I'm going to ask everyone to think of a situation right now where somebody's behaving in a way you don't like. So in this case, it's your son who, when you ask him to communicate, he says no. The first thing I'll suggest is you can't teach anybody anything.
That's right.
And to have that as an objective is itself to create problems. So,
Yeah.
so let's change the objective. Let's never try to teach anybody anything or to change anybody. If that's your objective, you'll create resistance. So that'd be my first suggestion today. Never try to teach anybody anything or to change anybody. That clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you do then? Give up?
No. See, this is the thinking that's been shaped in us by Jackal. See, the game of who's right, win, lose. So then if we can't change and win, then the option we think of is to be a chump and lose, you see. We've been educated to think in those two ways, win, lose, right, wrong. No, I'll show you a way.
He was gonna say, I'm gonna show you a way to communicate where both your needs can be met. And I'm like, oh, exactly. Like, that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to do right, wrong, teach, change. We're trying to get both of our needs met. Yeah, I know that might be a lot to swallow to just sit there with, but that's why we have these workshops. That's why we sit with it.
That's so relevant to a situation I had with a coworker who was a little bit older than I am, and it kind of put me in a triggered space of being spoken kind of down to by someone that's older and thinks by default they know better, the job better, even though we both were in the same training. And the way they were speaking to me was kind of like they felt like everything they were saying was teaching and that they had no opportunity to learn from me. And that's something that I radically am trying to unlearn, because from my experience growing up, we didn't have neutrality with elders. It was they're right, we're wrong. They talk, we listen. So I try not to have that now when I speak with people who are younger than me or even less, quote, skilled or less trained in the subject than me. I make my mind open that I can learn from everyone. I'm not here to teach anybody. I'm here to, honestly, for me, anytime I'm in a teaching position like this, I learn. So I'm actually here to learn myself, and y'all are just helping me learn, really.
Yeah, no, I've definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, is there anything in the chat? This was like, yeah, kind of the explainer on nonviolent communication, which is obviously so much more. And we're going to get to the 4 parts and continue talking about that. But yeah, that's kind of like what we talked about last workshop for that.
Nope, nothing in the chat. So I think we're good to go.
Okay. Oh, and I played it again. I must have done that. Okay, next. Okay, cool. Oh, okay. So yeah, we also kind of got into observations a little bit last workshop, which is the first step to nonviolent communication. Yeah, making concrete observations without judgment or evaluation. Just observing concrete things and actions around us and stating those things concretely. We kind of got into last time how difficult it is, having been socialized in domination logic, to simply make observations and not be stuck making judgments and evaluations, because honestly, that's what we've been forced into. Like, that's what we've been beat into, really, to always be judging, always be evaluating, and that really does obscure reality. And already, you can see that when you are in conflict and you are making judgments and evaluations, and the other person is making judgments and evaluations, that really does make the conflict like that much more difficult to solve. Yeah, so if we played like a little diagnosis game last time, and you can think about like how much space opened up when we were actually able to make concrete observations and like state a value statement and not a diagnosis. We also had this tip that, yeah, if you're ever using like too much, too little, in words like never, always, seldom, you are probably making a judgment or evaluation. Think back to when I was saying about my boyfriend, I'm like, oh, he's doing too much when he's said, like, that's an obvious evaluation because I'm declaring that I know the exact right amount of something and this person is inherently wrong. So yeah, that's a quick, easy tip. If you can always kind of catch yourself when you are using those words, then you can like, oh shit, I was just judging somebody. Yeah, I have here to, if you want to make a note to yourself to try to catch yourself every time you're using that, I have a reminder app. So I made that note earlier for myself. I'm really gonna try to do that. Yeah, and then there's also this chart that we took a look at about like other things that get in the way when we're trying to make concrete observations. Yeah, so things like I said, you are too generous or too anything, probably evaluation. When we just use evaluative words like he procrastinates, or like she's ugly, like any of those those things, obviously evaluation, judgment. Even saying something like she won't get her work in, that's us like making a diagnosis. We actually have no idea if she will get her work in. We can say we think that though, like that's what we think. So yeah, all of this is again about separating the judgment evaluation from the observation. And this is on page 20 of the workbook. Yeah, I also have it here because we're gonna watch this clip, watch Marshall Rosenberg again. This one's a little longer. And yeah, we're gonna see how observations are like hijacked by judgments and evaluations all the time when we are like seeped in domination logic. Yeah, and then I also have the what is acceptance graphic up there. Yeah, I try to show this to myself as much as possible because I'm like, just get lost on the rant after making a statement like it's raining and I don't like rain and I'm really, really cold and like all those things, but it's raining. Yep, it's raining. Like that is actually the observation. So just a quick little thing to get us oriented there. Showing the chart again, if you can try to point out which thing is getting in the way of the observation before he says it, because he's gonna point it out. But yeah, he is talking about one like job he did at a school where there is some tension between the faculty and the like head administrator. And yeah, he'll explain a little bit more too.
Now, when I was here in San Francisco, working with the school system back in the 70s, the superintendent of schools asked me to go into an elementary school. He said the parents are complaining about the quality of relationship between these teachers and the administrator. They said the tension in the school is so great that the parents want to take their children out of the school. So he asked if I would go in and see if I could open up better communication between the staff and the administrator. The plan was I would meet first with the teachers and then get the teachers and the administrator together. So in my meeting with the teachers, I started with the question that I just asked you. I said to the teachers, can you tell me one thing that the administrator does that makes it hard for you to work with him? I was asking for an observation, a concrete behavior. What is one thing he does? The first teacher to respond said this: he has a big mouth. Now, can you see the difference between the question I asked and the answer I got? I did not ask, what size mouth does the principal have? So this teacher was giving me an evaluation, an analysis that implies wrongness. You see, we've been so trained to think that way that sometimes we can't separate fact and opinion. All we see is our enemy image. See, whether it's an individual or a nation, we have been trained to think in enemy images, wrongness. And it obscures reality. We don't see the behavior, we just see our enemy image. In his book, Out of Weakness, Andrew Schmuckler says that when cultures are taught to think this way, not to just see the person, but image, a judgment they've made. Bombs are never far away, you see. So I pointed this out to the gentleman, that this was not an answer to my question. I wanted to know one thing the principal did. This man was stuck. He just couldn't get it. The woman sitting next to him tried to help. She says, well, I know what he's referring to. I said, okay, help him out. What's one thing that the principal does? He talks too much. No, too much is a judgment. I ask for an observation, not a judgment. See, this is how jackal-speaking people think. They really have been brought up to think there is such a thing as a just right amount of everything. And too much and too little, and that they know what it is. See? So they think that way. It doesn't make resolving conflicts too easy with them when people have an idea that there's a right and a too much and a too little, and they know what it is. And especially when they mix it up with an observation. I was just asking, what does the person do? And again, for the second time, this person couldn't see the behavior separate from the judgment. A third person tried to help. Well, I know what they're talking about. Okay, what? He thinks he's the only one that has anything worth saying. No, telling me what you think he thinks is an evaluation you're making of what you think is going on in his head. I was asking for what does he do? A fourth woman said, he wants to be the center of attention all the time. I said, now you're giving me a judgment or a diagnosis of his motives. Even if it's accurate, it's a diagnosis of his motives. It's not an observable behavior. My question was, what does he do? Now the entire faculty sits there quiet. Nobody can answer the question. And one of the women said to me, boy, Marshall, that's hard to do. Yes. In fact, the philosopher Krishnamurti says that to observe without evaluating is the highest form of human intelligence, you see. So those of us who have been taught to think in these enemy images, immediately to think right, wrong, good, bad, normal, abnormal, appropriate, inappropriate, to this, to that, we can't see reality. All we see is our enemy images. Well, with great help, with great effort on my part, I finally got them to get rid of the images and answer this simple question: what does he do? There was several things, but the one that they wanted particularly to start working with him on was this: that during their once-a-week faculty meetings, regardless of what was on the agenda, he would relate it to a war experience or a childhood experience. And the average meeting lasted 20 minutes longer than it was scheduled. Okay, that answered my question of what he did. He talked about war experiences, childhood experiences, rather than sticking to the agenda. I said, have you called that to his attention? They said, well, we can see now that when we tried to talk to him about it, these other judgments get mixed in, and he gets defensive. So they thought it would be a good idea to talk to him about it, but they asked if I would be at the meeting just in case. So I attended their next staff meeting, and I saw rather quickly what they were talking about, because almost as soon as an issue came up, the principal would say, oh, that reminds me of a time, and he would start to tell a story. And I was waiting for somebody to confront him on this in Giraffe, but instead of that, there was a lot of nonverbal jackling going on. People were going like this, rolling their eyes, poking the person next to them, yawning, looking at their watches, holding the watches up to the ears. And I watched this scenario going on for a while, and I said, excuse me, but isn't somebody going to say something? Now there's a silence, and the man who spoke up in our first meeting, I could just see him getting his courage up, and he looks at the principal and says, Ed, you have a big mouth.
Yeah. Open for any thoughts, reactions to the video, or the clip in the chat, or if you want to come off mute real quick. I really like that example. And I think it shows like if that's the case, like then that that conflict is not going to probably be resolved like after the statement like that is made. And it's like, so it's like, okay, what statement could have been made to maybe actually get closer to resolving the conflict? Yeah, we can keep moving though. That's observations. Really hard to make observations. So there are some exercises at the end of the workbook, like practicing making concrete observations. So definitely suggest doing that. And also if you want to start thinking about a situation that's happening right now that you are not particularly fond of, and thinking about a concrete observation for that, then yeah, go ahead and start doing that. We're going to get to that after we talk about all 4 parts, but yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's the first part. Second part is, I guess I should go back real quick. Yeah, second part is feelings, stating feelings, which is also really hard when you have been socialized in domination logic and you are separated, disconnected from your feelings at all the time. So yeah, I thought to practice feelings, or to recall, review feelings, because we did briefly touch on it last workshop. We could do a quick body check-in right now, just a few minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna just go right into it. So the body check-in is on page 34 of your workbook. And then the list of feelings is on page 20 if you want to pull that up to refer to it. But right now, you're just gonna kind of drop into your body and ask, what is it feeling right now? Again, the list of feelings is on page 20. Now we're gonna try to identify it even more in the body. So think about where you feel it. What kind of sensations your body has right now. You can look at this list of sensations. Just notice these sensations. Notice if they're intensifying or they're lessening. I'm gonna start a minute now, so you can continue settling into the check-in.
Is it okay if I say mine out loud?
Oh, I was after the minute.
After the minute, okay.
And you can also start to think about like if there are any like thoughts connected to that feeling, if there are any needs coming up. Maybe you can think about like a need statement or a value statement right now. What are you feeling like you need or value? Just about 15 more seconds. All right. Yeah, I don't know if you want to come off mute and just like spew out some words or drop them in the chat, however you want to do it.
I'll say for me, the feeling in my body, I think, I looked in the tense category and I saw like anxious in there, and I'm feeling sort of this feeling in my shoulders that they're tense, and I think it's maybe related to being anxious.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, you can definitely do this check-in like anywhere, anytime. literally just dropping into your body as much as possible. I've been trying to refer to the list of feelings from nonviolent communication, which again is on page 20 of your workbook, because that's been really helpful for me to actually see like all the feelings, and really think about each one and like which one I am actually feeling. So definitely suggest doing that. And I would also suggest reviewing page 21 in the workbook, because that has a chart of things that we often do when we say that we are feeling, or that we feel a certain way, but we're not actually like stating a feeling. We're, yeah, maybe like thinking about what someone had, or diagnosing, judging, evaluating someone, and so like feeling that judgment. So yeah, definitely look at page 20, 21 for feelings, and then observations also in the first part of the workbook. Are there any questions before we go on about like domination logic, about observations or feelings in particular? Okay, I hope everyone's enjoying the Marshall Rosenberg clips, because there's a few more of them, so sorry. Yeah, but now we're going to talk about needs, which is the third step of nonviolent communication. So first you state a concrete observation, then you state a feeling, then you state a need that's connected to that feeling. So you're feeling this way because either your need's not being met or your need is being met. Once again, according to nonviolent communication, needs are the life-seeking expression in us. So being connected to our needs literally means being alive. And that's like this blew my mind when I read it the first time. It's so profound to me. And it makes so much sense. Like, yeah, exactly. Being alive means being connected to our needs. And then once again, nonviolent communication is about creating and fostering a connection that keeps us alive, that is able to meet our needs. Yeah, so this is on page 35 of the workbook, starting talking about needs. Like I said, we're gonna watch another clip of Marshall Rosenberg. This one's also around like 7 minutes, so a little longer. But yeah, this is talking about why getting to the needs, understanding the needs, always going back to the needs is actually what's gonna allow us to transform any conflict. Once again, he says that when we are in touch with each other's needs, it allows solutions to emerge for conflicts. So the most important thing really about nonviolent communication is getting to the need. And the first two steps, like stating your observation and stating the feeling, is really trying to get you to stating the need. So yeah, he's talking about a married couple in this example, and they've been arguing for like 30 years about the same thing. And he's like, yeah, because y'all never talked about the needs there. And let's watch it.
Here's your wife's needs. Here's your needs. When she hears your needs without hearing any criticism or demand, and you hear her needs without any criticism and demand, the solution will find you. The conflict will resolve itself. It does need to be resolved. But what most of us do, we skip this and go right to here. For example, I sometimes do workshops just with married couples or other people living together in a love relationship. And what we do to begin the workshop, we identify the couple who has had a conflict, the longest outstanding conflict that could not be resolved. And I make a prediction, and it's right. My prediction has been accurate in maybe, I'm sure, at least 75% of the cases. But my prediction is this, that we will resolve the conflict within 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes from the point at which both parties can tell me what the other party is needing. Okay? Now, one time we found a couple married 39 years. 39 years had a conflict, had not been able to resolve this conflict. The wife said to me, Marshall, I can tell you right now, we're not going to be able to resolve this within 20 minutes. We have a good marriage, we communicate well, but this is just one of those things that we're different people and we just have a conflict here. Now I said, let me correct one thing. I didn't say we're going to resolve it within 20 minutes. I said within 20 minutes from the point at which you can both tell me what the other party is needing. Oh, she said, Marshall, when you've been married 39 years and you've talked about something almost every day, I can tell you we understand each other. The problem isn't that. We're just two different people in this issue. Well, I said, I've been wrong before. I can sure be wrong this time, but let's see. We'll find out within 20 minutes. So first, tell me what his needs are in this situation. He doesn't want me to spend any money. He responds immediately, that's ridiculous. 39 years of communication. Now, first of all, doesn't want me to spend any money is not a need. See, needs and strategies need to be separated. They had been talking about how much money she could spend and not spend. But the more important issue there was whether who takes care of the checkbook. He unilaterally controlled the checkbook, which was really the main issue between them. See, but I'm saying I don't even want the couple to talk about the strategies or the solutions until the connection is there. When the connection is there, the conflicts usually resolve themselves. So I pointed out to her, no, that's not a need. And even if it was, notice he's saying that's not accurate. Well, she said, okay, let me then tell you what his needs are, Marshall. You see, he's just like his own father. They both have a depression mentality when it comes to money. I said, stop. Now I'm hearing psychoanalytic jackal. And I was going to take another 39 years if you get into that. No, I'm not asking for an analysis of his personality. I'm saying, what are his needs? She didn't know. After 39 years, she had no awareness, consciousness of his needs. So I said to him, okay, well, she doesn't know. Why don't you tell her? Well, Marshall, let me tell you what her needs are. You see, she's a lovely woman, wonderful mother, a wonderful wife. But when it comes to money, she's totally irresponsible. Here comes another 39 years, you see. I ask for a need, and he gives me a diagnosis. And of course, she immediately says, that's unfair. I said, hold it. So I could see they didn't have a need literacy, so I had to loan them my ears. So with giraffe ears, of course, I'm conscious that all judgment, she's totally irresponsible, is a tragic expression of an unmet need. You see? So if she would have had these ears, they would have been able to resolve this in the first year of their marriage. But she didn't. She was taking it personally. So I helped them out. I said, when you say she's irresponsible, are you feeling frightened and need to be sure the family is protected economically? He said, that's exactly what I mean. Well, that wasn't what he had been saying for 39 years. But he didn't know how to say his feelings and needs. Okay, so I've got his needs identified. He was scared, wanted to protect the family economically. I turned to his wife and said, could you tell me back what you heard him say? But because I did, one time I overdrew the checkbook when we were, first married, now he thinks, I said, excuse me. Notice what the first word that she said was, but. See, she doesn't know the cardinal giraffe rule. Never put your butt in the face of an angry person. I said, What are his feelings and needs? But, no. What are his feelings and needs? Want me to repeat them? Yeah. I hear him saying he's scared. Well, but, no, hold it. Calm down. Hear his feelings and needs. See, but after 39 years of enemy image, it's not easy for somebody to shift these images, you see. Once we get one of these images in our mind of the other person's wrongness, even when they are expressing their needs, we don't hear it. These enemy images are hard to get past, you see. So she's been seeing him as cheap and having this depression mentality for 39 years. See? So she can't see the human being behind her image. I said, let me repeat it again. I hear him saying he's scared because he needs to protect needs to protect the family economically. Can you say back? Yeah, he thinks I'm irresponsible. Let's try it again. After 3 more repetitions, finally, she could hear his needs and feelings separate from her judgments. Finally.
Oof. I was like, well, she right, because he obviously is holding something against her because she overdrew the checkbook that one time. I was like all for her. I was like, exactly, girl. He thinks you're irresponsible, girl. But no, it's valid. The need to protect the family economically, that's valid. And it's so real that when you are already thinking that someone's wrong, like that's literally all you're going to see is the wrong. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any reactions.
I was just going to say, to your point, I actually was creating evaluations and diagnoses on them as well. And we don't even have images of these people, and I was doing it. And the first thing I thought of was, I'm thinking 39 years of marriage, so they're probably elderly. And I'm like, look at this, like, hyper masculine mindset, trying to control the money, like acting like I'm just like going on this thing. And not that that's not valid and shouldn't be looked at. It always should be. But understanding, we say intent, impact is greater than intent, and it is. But in restorative justice work, for example, we have to unpack the intent so that way we can change the behavior and get needs met. And I had already decided that this man's intent was to be a misogynistic, chauvinistic, man, even though that may be what the impact is, that wasn't his intent, and that matters.
Yeah, all that. Oof. Anyone else want to jump in, say something? It's hard. It's so hard to hear the needs. And actually, let's go to the. Oh, I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh. Sorry. Hold on. 1 second, y'all.
Can you see the chat now, or Deja?
Sorry, say that again.
Are you able to see the chat now, or you still can't see it?
I can see it, but I'm not looking right now. So there's something you can just say it now.
Oh, awesome. Okay, I just wasn't sure. So yeah, I just want to elevate that. Someone said, I like when he said you cannot see the individual behind the image we created, because that stood out to me too. So thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is the list of needs from Nonviolent Communication, like the official center or whatever. But yeah, it's also been helpful to look at these when I am, because so often you literally have no idea what your need is, at least for me. But like I'm like, I don't need, like they're like, well, what do you need? And I'm like, well, shit, I don't know. So yeah, looking at these, just being able to look through them, I'm like, oh, I do need some warmth right now. That's exactly what I need, some warmth. Has been helpful. Yeah. Any questions, comments about these or about anything so far? I'm gonna stop sharing and then share again the PowerPoint. So feel free to come off mute, drop in the chat. We're actually gonna watch another clip from Marsha Rosenberg. Oh well. This one though about love, he says some things about love. As you can see from that list, and I don't know if you noticed or not, love is on the need list, not on the feelings list. Okay. He also, nonviolent communication, it holds that like humans all have the same fundamental needs. So that list is also really helpful to refer to, because it's like, not that like the list gets to everything, but just thinking that we all have the same fundamental needs, and kind of being able to refer to a baseline is helpful. So yeah, we all have the same needs, but in terms of how we want those needs to be met, which would be our request, can look different. And request is the last part of nonviolent communication. We are slowly but surely getting there. But yeah, like I said, needs kind of seem straightforward because you're like, well, yeah, I know what I need. But when we've been socialized in domination logic, I'm telling you, we don't know what we need. So again, looking at the list is helpful. And then thinking about the way loved is conceptualized in nonviolent communication. That's where I've had the most difficulty. Because often in domination logic, love is used as a feeling. And so it's weaponized against others to like get them to do what you want. You're like, well, if you love me, you'll do this. Or well, I don't feel loved, so like that justifies me doing this. He says it even much better, so I'm just gonna get to the clip, because I know some of you are like, well, no, I've been feeling loved sometimes. Definitely can be feeling like something in that category, but like I said, the way he talks about love is really profound. So I'm gonna try to get there. Oh.
While we're searching for that, do you remember offhand, do we have that list from the NVC Center in the workbook or no?
The feelings, the needs list, it's not. I noticed afterwards that we forgot to put it in there, but it will be in the the workbook that's for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th workshops. So yeah, when the 3rd workshop gets here, there'll be a new workbook, because this workbook only has 1 and 2. Got it. And we put the needs list in there, definitely. Right. Also, I just took a picture of it on my phone because I'm like, well, what the fuck I need real quick. I would suggest doing that. Okay, yeah, this is like 4 minutes. Marshall Rosenberg talking about why love is a need and not a feeling. And when he says jackal and giraffe language, giraffe is nonviolent communication and jackal is domination logic. Apparently giraffes have the biggest hearts in like the animal kingdom, which is why, that's his logic. Okay, let's watch it. 4 minutes, why love is a need.
That word love is so important that we got to get real clear what we mean about it when we use it as a giraffe. See, watch what happens when a giraffe and a jackal get together on this love. See, watch this jackal ask a very dangerous question. But notice that the giraffe is too smart ever to answer this question. Watch. Do you love me? Jackal, before I can answer your question honestly, I need to get some important things clear. Are you using the word love as a feeling? Well, of course. Okay, well, I needed to get that clear. So you mean, am I feeling certain warm, cuddly, tender feelings toward you? Yes. Okay, I needed to get this clear, because see, we giraffes do not use the word love as a feeling. It's much too important to us to get it confused with a feeling. It's a need for us. But since you use it as a feeling, okay, I'm glad to know that. So would you please then, now that I know that, would you ask the question again? Do you love me? When? When? Well, I want to be honest. I can see how important this is to you, but how can I be honest with you about what I feel toward you without reference to a specific moment? Feelings change every few seconds. Life is changing. Feelings are part of life. So I'd have to know a specific time and place to ever answer your question of how I feel. What about right now? No. But try me again in a few moments. So you see, to a giraffe, love is a need, and it's a need for which we must be very clear about what requests do we have of other people to meet that need. Now, watch what happens with reference to that if we're in a love relationship with a jackal. I want you to love me. Oh, so you have a need for love, jackal, and you're giving me the honor of wanting me to meet that need. Yes. I really see how important the need of love is, so I want to be clear what you would like from me to meet your need. Could you tell me what you are requesting of me to meet your need? Now, the poor jackals, they don't live in the moment, you see. To make a clear request, you have to live now. You have to be clear what you want. So watch how the jackal handles this. So could you tell me what you want me to do to meet your need for love? Oh, you know. No, I'm not sure I do. I really see how important this need is for you, so can you tell me specifically what you would like me to do to meet your need for love? Well, it's hard to say in so many words. If it's hard for you to say, jackal, can you see how hard it will be for me to do? I never thought of that. So what would you like me to do to meet your need for love? It's embarrassing to get clear. Yes, it is, because much of our oppression in close relationships comes from saying to people, I want you to respect me, I want you to love me, I want you to understand me, without our being real clear what we want when we say that. So what are you wanting, jackal, when you say you want me to love you? I want you to guess what I want before I even know what it is. And I want you always to be willing to do it. Thank you for defining it that way, jackal. Would you please find someone else to meet your need for love? Most jackals that carry that definition of love around with them find out how impossible it is to meet on about their 5th divorce. You see, they keep thinking that they're going to find the right person to love them, not realizing the problem is how they're defining love and what they want from other people to meet the need for love, to see that it's impossible to meet that need. Which brings us to the next step in the process, how to make clear requests after we have expressed our unmet need.
Yes, I do not see the chat, so I don't know what y'all are saying, but T was very hot in that. Very, very hot. I'm always like, well, just want you to love me. Like, well, what the you don't know, how am I gonna know? Yeah, all that.
That's basically what was said in the chat. Is I just basically reiterate that point. I'm always telling someone that they either know or they should know, but then I don't even know. So like,
right. You should know. That's something there. Yeah. Okay. So that's needs. So love is a need. We should think about it as a need. Think about needs as fundamental as things that we all have, and yeah, how we want people to meet those needs can look differently, which is request. So we're gonna move on to that. Okay, yeah. So when we learn to request concrete actions that can be carried out in the present moment, we begin to find ways to cooperatively and creatively ensure that everyone's needs are met. So yeah, that's literally the request is kind of the easiest thing, but it's also, it can be a little bit tricky again when you're socialized in domination logic. But yeah, once you have stated the observation, you got clear on your feelings and you know what your need is, it should be a lot more easier for you to actually state what that looks like right here and right now, what that need looks like right here and right now. And that is what a request is. Yeah, so there's just 3 tips for making requests in nonviolent communication. The first is to use positive action language. So you should be saying what you want, not what you don't want. Think back again to the first clip about the kids breaking school windows. If we say we don't want something, it makes domination logic so very attractive, so attractive. But when we're forced to use positive action language, we actually arrive at something that can be done. It's wild. It's like, wow, if I can state in action, then it can be done. Whoa, okay. So that's what we're trying to do here. And it also brings us into deeper connection with our needs because we actually know what we want. Yeah. So that leads into the second tip, which is to use clear, concrete language and as specific and as clear as you can get. And finally, be clear about what you want right now, right here. As Marshall was saying, you have to be in the moment in order to make requests. You have to be present. So you should be thinking about what you need right now. This is all on page 36 of your workbook. Like I said, it kind of seems simple, but not really when you've been socialized in domination logic. So we have to remember and be clear that requests are not demands. They are not demands. Yeah. And the difference, several differences. One, if it is a demand, then that means punishment. Then that means I'm forcing you to do this thing and I have a way to force you to do this thing, which is usually involves punishment. So we should be clear that when making requests, we do not want someone to do something out of fear of punishment or shame or out of obligation because they feel like they have to. Like none of those things we should be aiming for. And he even says that state in the moment, like, please do not do this request if you feel like you have to, if you feel like I'm forcing you to, if you fear punishment otherwise, don't do the request. Again, we must consider why we want people to do things and remember that we want people to do things because it keeps them alive, because it meets their needs, and not because of some external validation. Now, this does not mean that we do not want our requests to be met. Think back to one of the clips where Marshall Rosenberg said that when it's domination logic, we can either think in winning or losing. So you're probably thinking like, well, if I can't like demand this request, then I lose. My requests are just not met. And that's not the case at all. It just means that our most important objective is to be present with the connection at hand and to create a relationship based on honesty and empathy so that everyone's needs can be met. Yeah, and this, that may look like exiting a relationship because your needs can't be met in that relationship. So yeah, so it's not about demanding or punishing.
If I may, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about what you just said about exiting a relationship. And I kind of thought about it this way. It's sort of like, why would I want to demand someone to maintain a friendship or a relationship with me? And I'm thinking about how codependency in itself often manifests in a domination logic. As a codependent, I always drag us that we're not really always the victims we like to portray we are. A lot of times we are the aggressor. And I thought about how in my last relationship, I had a lot of demands of things that needed to be met, some which were not even clear, that, because he should have known, right? He should have known. And I was just making a self-fulfilling prophecy of the belief system I had, the judgment I had on myself, that he didn't want me because he wasn't doing the things that I was demanding. When in reality, I was making demands that he either didn't understand or didn't want to do and wasn't motivated to do. So if I would have looked back and maybe made a little bit more requests and then understood, like, I may not get this request met exactly how I want, so we can compromise and work on it as long as it still meets the need. But at the end of the day, if these requests cannot be met at all, then I may need to step out of this relationship and find someone who does want to meet my needs because they want to keep me, quote, alive, if that makes sense.
Right. No, all that, definitely. Yeah. So two good sentences to know in when making requests is, to ask for reflection and to request honesty. So would you be willing to tell me what you heard me say? I've used this in real time, and it's like, oof, like that's exactly what I wanted too. Like I just wanted to make sure that you got it, like you understood. And so that's exactly how a great way to do that. And then I would like you to tell me how you feel about what I said. Also amazing. And this is a good way to make sure that the person isn't hearing a demand or feeling like they are being demanded to do something, which is important, again, important. So yeah, I want to try to give, we obviously are a little bit off time a lot, but it's fine. We've gotten through a lot of information still. And yeah, I want to give everyone a chance to do this workbook prompt, where you're gonna actually go through the nonviolent communication process, state an observation about something that's happening that you don't like, state your feeling, state whatever need you have, and state the request that you have. Yeah, I'm gonna give like 3 minutes on the clock for this. You can start thinking about things. I'll start that time now. And then I'm gonna stop sharing really quick so I can drop the link for the needs inventory. So at least you have that now. And then yeah, we also were thinking about doing a Jamboard for this. So if you would like to share your response out on Jamboard, that would be great. That's the link for the Jamboard. Yeah, it's about like 2 minutes left. I'll just give everyone another minute. So continue to think about a situation that's happening that you don't like, and or several situations, and then think of the concrete observation. Think of the feeling. The list of feelings is on page 20 of the workbook. Say the need, and then whatever request you can come up with. And then you could put whatever you want on the Jamboard. So you can just put like the observation, or you put the whole thing. It's also completely optional. So also, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything so far, go ahead, come off mute or drop it in the chat.
Real quick, I was trying to type into the Jamboard, but there's still responses from the first workshop.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, if it's more sheets, I'm gonna share real quick so you can see. If you
Oh,
at the top though,
I'm sorry, I found it.
I should say that too.
My bad. Okay, I need to get, yeah, I found it. Thanks, Beauty.
Yeah, so it's number 3. Yeah. It's about a minute left on the time too. All All right, yeah, so just a few seconds left if you want to wrap up, if you want to put something on the Jamboard. We'll be moving on at like 6:38, so just in another minute. Okay, are people typing on the Jamboard? Because we can wait. I'll give it a few more minutes, or another minute. And yeah, it's on page 3 too. Maybe that's not apparent. Oh well. Yeah, we're also, you can add to it at any time, the rest of the time, the rest of our last hour, because we're going to be talking about keep talking about it. So okay, you need acceptance. That's a great thing to notice. Thank you for putting that.
I wanted to elevate what Tina said in the chat, which is I'm noticing how vulnerable you have to be to make clear requests. That's true.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so we can move on. Oh crap, I did the thing that I wasn't supposed to do. Okay, give me a second, y'all. But we were gonna do a somatic centering exercise next. So yeah, kind of just like thought about something that got you a little upset. So gonna take a moment to ground a little bit. This will be about like four minutes. You can turn your camera off if you want. This is adopted from somatic centering exercises from Prentice Hip Hill. Oh, Quincy said, yes. Well, I saw your face of like, oh, I can't. I guess that's what it was. You were like, everyone I make is a judgment still. That's the practice though is good. The practice it's important. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, yeah, so this somatic centering exercise is adopted from Prentice Hip Hill, and I've learned everything about somatics from them and movement generation, a big organization who talks about being embodied in this movement. So centering practices are about getting us to be with what is. We've kind of taken into a lot of information in, so we're trying to process that, be here, pay attention to how we are on the inside. Really just be present and grounded in our bodies in this moment here. Prentice says that this is not about disengaging from the world or not acting, but this is actually about allowing us to be more connected to the choices that are available to us. So you can do this lying down or sitting or standing. First, just come back into yourself. I know you may be still a little scattered. So just try to come back into your own being. Just be curious. Can you notice any sensations that are happening? Make room for it all. Even if there's pain, make room for any tightness or hardness, any temperature that you might feel. Just get curious about how you are right here, right now. We're going to center intentionally and 4 dimensions. The first is vertical. So you might just get curious about how you are in relation to your vertical line. The back of your neck, your spine, any space that wants to elongate. If you're seated, ground your feet into the floor below you and lift up through the crown of your head. Really feel into it. In this dimension, we can think about our dignity, our inherent worth and value. Settle into that. Your inherent worth and value. Now let's center in width. We're going to feel side to side. Feel the width of our head, our shoulders, our torso. Feel for the width of your body. Bringing your breath to all the places you've been told to shrink. Here in this space, feel for your boundaries. That space around you, your connection to the world. Soften here in this connection. Allow your heart space to open up, your gut to open up, and feel. Now center in depth. Feel for the back of the body, for the clothes that fall on your back, for your shoulder blades, the back of your calves. Feel for the features of your face from the inside. And think, who has your back? Allow it to soften you. Feel for the wisdom inherent in this space in you. For the people at your back. In this dimension, we can feel and be connected across time. How we show up in this moment, how we connect to the past. And in the last dimension, it is that of care. What is it that you care about and are committed to? Let your body answer. What do you care about for your life? What will it require in your own embodiment? Is it more breath, more connection? Start to feel this in every part of your body, every cell, every breath. Now take a moment to just breathe, knowing that the work has been done. Just breathe. All right. Thanks so much for practicing that with me. Come back into your body, wake it up if you are falling asleep. relaxing. Okay. Yeah, we can actually just go into our break now. Yeah, we still have a lot that we wanted to get to, but we can see what we can get to after this break. We can, yeah, halt for like 10 minutes and yeah, meet back here at 6:57, close out the last like 30 minutes. Yeah, if there's any questions, comments, or concerns, you can drop them in the chat. We'll still be here listening. So yeah, 6:57. Okay. Hi everyone, it's 6:57. Thanks for coming back with us. So cool. Oh yeah, so we have like 20 minutes left to close out. We're going to talk about responding and nonviolent communication because there is like, yeah, the two-way street. And also going to watch another video, a different from a different person though, with some helpful sentences in nonviolent communication. So a little bit more, a little bit more helpful sentences for that. And then yeah, we're just in talking all together as however much time as we have left. So yeah, nonviolent responding and nonviolent communication. In nonviolent communication, responding has everything to do with listening. Obviously, we are trying to foster a connection deep enough to meet each other's needs. So we have to be seeking to really understand what is alive. Again, what are the other person's needs? What is alive in the other person? And that is what empathy is in nonviolent communication. Yeah, so we obviously are familiar with empathy. People talk a lot about empathy even in this society, which is very dominating. And we kind of all have a natural tendency to know and be seeking out what is alive in other people. So we know this, are familiar with this kind of like deep listening and compassion, and what comes with empathy. However, again, like in domination logic, like typically in domination logic, we have a warped sense of empathy, and empathy is warped into literally being dominating, like being about domination. So in domination logic, when we say we're showing empathy, we're usually like trying to fix or save another person from their feelings. We're trying to get power over them. We're trying to control by really saying that we have the solution for this person. And so let's think about it. Like how often, for myself, I can think how often I say I'm being empathetic when the entire time I'm like trying to diagnose like what's wrong here, and oh well, you can do this or you can do that. I'm like trying to constantly fix it, or even saying things like everything's okay or stay positive. Yeah, those things are all about like really us reassuring ourselves, or us trying to get control of the situation ourselves by saying, yeah, we just fixed it by saying stay positive, everything's okay. So yeah, it's hard to believe, and I even still struggle to believe it, but trying to fix something means that you are diagnosing something that's wrong, and that inherently is not it's not empathy. Actually not about the other person at all. It's about yourself. So empathy is about being present and seeking to know what is alive in the other person, is seeking to know and really understand their needs in a way that may not directly implicate you. Like, so it's not always on you to meet their needs. You're just trying to clarify, to get them stated, to understand what their needs are. So that should be the focus. And when it is the focus, we see that there is no need to judge or to diagnose or to fix anything, really. Like when we are just trying to understand what the person's needs are, then there is nothing to fix. So empathy is really about being present and fostering that connection, seeing what's alive in the other person. And again, that's all about understanding that person's needs. The most simple way you can be empathetic is to observe without judgment in concrete terms a situation and then take an educated guess about what the person might be feeling. So this statement, I see you, concrete observation. Are you feeling this because you might need this? Like that is literally like the epitome of empathy, really. And when you genuinely say that to a person who is upset, then that really allows them to be like, oh shoot, like what is my need here? And brings them back down to the need. And you're making a concrete observation and then making the educated guess about their feelings and needs. And you may be completely wrong, which is fine, but at least they'll be like, no, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need. See? So really all about getting to understanding those needs. Yeah, again, it's about creating that genuine pause, about getting to be able to connect to the heart and getting out of the head, getting out of diagnosis, getting out of evaluation. And this is why I love this quote from Adrienne Marie Brown so much, because it says, "We are socialized to see what is wrong, missing, off, to tear down the ideas of others and to uplift our own. To a certain degree, our entire future may depend on learning to listen. Listen without assumptions or defenses." And that's just such a word. Like we have not been taught just to listen. We've been taught to diagnose, to judge, to evaluate, literally all the time. And we're in our heads all the time. We're completely disconnected from our needs. And if we are just trying to listen to what the other person needs, then yeah, that opens up so much. It allows conflict to actually be transformed. So yeah, I've stumbled upon over the years, over like 2 years, like several graphics on Instagram and stuff about empathy and like statements of empathy, how you can be more empathetic. And I thought it would be nice to just spend some time looking at them, because not only would we then have like good statements to say when trying to practice nonviolent communication and are actually in conversation, but we also can think about like, are these things actually empathy? Because again, they came from Instagram and it's just posted that I found, so may not be completely empathetic, real empathetic statements. I encourage you to write down any statements that seem helpful. And yeah, again, look for anything that might not completely fit the definition of empathy that comes from nonviolent communication. Okay. So yeah, this is the first one. I think this one's pretty good. You can see on empathetic listening, it says, "I'm listening. That sounds heavy. What did that make you feel? How can I show up for you moving forward? I'm here. Is there more?" It sounds like you're saying, is that accurate? Which in this one is exactly like are you feeling this because you need this? So yeah, I think all those check out as being empathetic. Over here, you can see how it's about fixing, about saving. What if you try this? The same thing happened to my friend. It could be worse. Oh, don't be upset. Oh, you should read, listen, follow. You'll be fine. I totally get it. Yeah. So in the difference up here, I like this. I want to hear you versus I want to fix you. That's really profound there. I think I'm gonna post these on the Facebook group. And I also encourage you, like, if you find these posts like these on Instagram or social media in general, to post them on Facebook, and then we could like talk about, is this actually empathy? We could like, yeah, point out all the ways that it might not actually be empathetic. So it'll be fun. This is another one, 10 statements of empathy. I think these are also they check out. This sounds like a tough time for you. Thank you so much for opening up to me. Number 2, please let me know is there any support that you need from me? I am here for you. I can't even begin to imagine how difficult this is for you. I'm glad you told me. I'm here for you. I wish you didn't have to go through this, but I am right here for you. If you don't know where to begin, start wherever feels most comfortable. I am listening. That sounds incredibly hard, and I am so proud of your strength. Your emotions are valid. I believe you. Take all the time you need. You have my support. I love you and I hear you. Yeah, I think those check out. All about trying to hear, trying to listen, trying to be present with the person. Again, write down any of these that you're like, oh, I should really use this. And again, these are things that I refer to too when I'm like, how do I actually be empathetic in this moment? Yeah, this one's pretty good too. Instead of saying, stop crying, it's okay to be sad. This is really hard for you. I'm here for you. That was really scary, sad. Yeah, like restating their feelings, that's validating their feelings. We talked about validation earlier. It doesn't feel fair. I hear that you need space. I want to be here for you. I'll stay I'll stay close so you can find me when you're ready. This one, yeah, I need to really practice with that. I've also noticed how like when when I can't help in that moment and like someone really is asking for space, I'm like, oh, like why can't I help? Like sort of thing. It's so dominating. Like it's literally that's like all about me wanting to fix and like save this person. And it's like, no, like I should if that person says they need space and like I should be completely okay with giving that person space. Okay, I think there's like two more or three more, two more. Yeah, we've been talking, yeah, hitting on toxic positivity a little bit. This directly names it right out. So yeah, instead of saying you'll get over it, it's better to say it's hard, but I believe in you. Even that though, I don't know. The but, it kind of, I'm like, why you gotta be but? Like it could just be, it's hard, I believe in you, and I believe in you. Like it's not butting it. Don't be so negative. You can instead say it's okay to feel bad sometimes. So you can see like definitely some of these repeat. Always look at the bright side. It can be difficult to see the good in the situation, but we'll make sense of it when we can. I feel like that kind of teeters on the line a little bit.
Yeah, that one I didn't like. I didn't love that one too much. I think it should have just stopped after situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can see and you can feel like the urge to like to say that last part too, to be like, okay, but it'll be okay, but it'll be okay. Like that, I feel that urge like viscerally in my body to want to say it'll be okay. You want to say something, Bill?
Yeah, sorry. That one too kind of doesn't sit too well with me. I concur with you both. Like, it could just say it can be difficult to see the good in the situation and leave it at that because it may not always make sense, period. Like, it doesn't have to make sense, especially when we're all humans and we're all complex individuals. I mean, we all have all kinds of differences, and it doesn't have to make sense in the long run. So we can just leave it at it can be difficult to see the good in the situation and leave it at that because we don't have to it never has to make sense for us. It doesn't have to. It's not a requirement, and that's part of domination logic too. It's like we always try to we've been taught to always try to make sense of things and always find like the solution per se, but there's not always a solution per se because literally we're all so different. It doesn't have to be a solution that will make everyone happy or pleases everyone.
Yes, it definitely is. It's giving the illusion of control of domination logic. It definitely gives that when we're like trying so hard to be like, oh no, but it's okay, but it's okay, but it's okay. Yeah, thank you for that. I think failure is a part of growth. I don't know. I guess that's okay. Yeah, the last one. Sometimes we experience bad things. How can I support you? That's good. Okay, yeah, I think this is the last one. Yeah, and this is geared specifically towards able-bodied people and like the ableist shit that we sometimes say when we're trying to make people feel better or whatever. So yeah, never give up. Giving up is okay. Doesn't mean you're quitting. That's very valid, very true. Think happy thoughts. What is bringing you joy during this hard time? I think that's really good. Yeah, and even like something like how are you meeting your need for joy? Because like that is still, yeah. I don't know if that's on the list, but something like that. Focus on seeing the good. Nothing feels controlled right now. What helps you move forward? I don't know. I feel like I would probably ask like what is keeping you, what is maintaining you in this moment, rather than like what are you moving forward? Yeah. You'll get over this. This is hard. You've done hard things before, and I believe in you.
That one for me gives a little bit of, hey, you've been through enough trauma. That resilience is looking great on you vibe, which is a little bit of like, I sometimes want something to be hard. And even though I've been through harder, I want this to be the hardest thing in the world right now. So that way I can be mad about it instead of being reminded, no, remember when you went through that, horrific trauma in 20? No, yes, I remember, but.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks so much for everyone who, Angel and Belle, for chiming in. That's good. I think, yeah, I would love to continue doing this with all, like, I literally like screenshot these every time I see something like this. So yeah, I'll definitely be posting this in the Facebook group, and if you come across them, feel free to do that as well. Okay, yeah, so we're gonna play a dialogue game, but we don't have time for that. And then we were going to watch this video, but I think we should just like show the 7 sentences instead of, oh, you guys are searching my screen. Are y'all still, y'all see the PDF right now?
I see your slides.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, in the video we're gonna watch, she just named 7 sentences that are helpful nonviolent communication sentences. And we have those written in the workbook. So we're gonna show that. And that was pretty much like the last thing. The last part was trying to put nonviolent communication in actual conversation. So now you have, kind of like empathetic statements. How do you actually talk to someone using it? And then those last little bitty helpful sentences.
I was thinking we could post the video in the Facebook group tonight too, so folks could watch it.
Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, it's linked in the workbook too, so you could, yeah, definitely watch it. Yeah, so these were them. I think they were all pretty solid. Her YouTube channel is pretty amazing. She has a lot of different videos, so I would definitely check her out. But yeah, she says, "Can I interrupt you? Do you have space to listen to me for 10 minutes? How would it be for you to blank? Would you be willing to try out this strategy for X amount of time? Can I think about it and let you know tomorrow? I would really love to find a way to get both of our needs met. I would prefer to do blank because I have a need for blank." Yeah, and just the ones that really stuck out for me is like, do you have space to listen to me for 10 minutes? Is this like, I'm telling you exactly what my request is. Like, I want you to listen to me for 10 minutes. So maybe you can start making suggestions after the 10 minutes, but for the 10 minutes, you're just listening to me. Hopefully just engaging in that like restating of my feelings and needs with me being present. I think that was a big one for me. And then the other one was, would you be willing to try out this strategy for X amount of time? Because I think, even like our requests can quickly become demands when we're like, well, no, I need you to do this. Like, this is just what's going to happen. But instead it's like, okay, well, would you be willing to try this out? How I'm saying, would you be willing to, and not like for this amount of time, and then we can like revisit it and see if it's actually working. Like, I'm not gonna just push this on you. So any just comments or feedback on those, or on anything that we talked about empathy or about communication?
Just one thing real quick that I do with my best friend now is when she's like, oh, I need to talk, I do start off with, okay, is this a venting session, or is this a, like, do you want suggestions? And that has helped a lot with our communication, to make sure, like, sometimes she just wants to get it out and I just stay in a listening role. Other times she wants to do a back and forth. So establishing that need in the beginning can help eliminate, and I've seen this in my relationship, there's times where it's just like, oh, well, maybe I just wanted to be listened to, and now I've got this list of advice, and now I feel even worse than when I started. Quincy, if you would like to unmute.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the slide where we talked about like the example of empathy, like I see you blank, are you feeling blank? And then because you need blank. And I just had, I thought the because you need, like that just didn't quite sit right with me. I mean, I think um like it's kind of like putting out there, like almost more, it could be like a little bit forceful.
Mhm.
And also like the example, like how can I support you? I think it depends on the relationship, but then it's kind of assuming that they need your support, or like maybe like, you know, is there any support that you need? And then, or is there anything that and then if the answer is yes, then like, is there anything I can do? Because sometimes, you know, it has nothing to do with you being there, or, you know, it's almost like assuming that like you can help when you can't always help.
Mhm. Ooh, yeah, no, that's very, thank you so much for bringing those two things up. That's very real, that we shouldn't assume that people need support or that we're the solution, that we can provide that. Definitely real. And then also, uh, yeah, so yeah, putting out the need, I can definitely see how, and someone could hear that as uh, kind of like trying to like foreclose the conflict, like jump to the end. Is like, okay, so you feel this way, so we just need to do this. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, oof, that's real. That's real, especially when we're still seeing the domination logic. Yeah, yeah. I think um, definitely it should never be like thought of as like trying to like end the argument right then and there. Like it's really just the clarifying, like to clarify. Um, and so it should like continue to clarify. Like it shouldn't just be like a one and done thing. Um, especially depending on the conflict. And then also like the questions that kept coming up on the slides, like, is there anything else? Is there more? And I don't know where I saw this quote. I thought it was in this video, but it's not. But it was like something around, do you feel like uh, you've like you've said, do you feel understood? Do you feel like you've said everything you needed to say, basically? But it was in a much better, much better way. Like, is there anything else? Is there anything else we should talk about, sort of thing? I think that's also.
Can I also throw in, to Quincy's point, I think the relationship does matter in one way and another on how you would word it. I think also because of our conditioning of domination logic and our conditioning in toxic positivity and all that, sometimes these nonviolent phrases, when I hear them, I automatically assume they're like, this evaluation comes out of my head like, oh, yeah. So yeah, you understood everything I need. Like you're being like real, saucy right now. Like I don't know why that, that I agree about, you have to make sure you understand the relationship, because sometimes even that kind of language can almost sound like patronizing because we're so trained to expect the person to one up us. And oh, so that was your one up? You won the argument by letting me know that I'm just a broken person with all these needs? Like my mind just went there.
I'm crying. Yeah, that's so real. That's so real. Yeah, and actually to that point, we have like 10 minutes left. So we were originally getting 5 minutes, but maybe just like 2, and then we can spend like 5 more talking about it and then close out with the last like 2 minutes. But yeah, since you kind of like wrote the observation, feeling, need, and request during like the first part, and so now kind of think about what the response might be. Now you're not diagnosing, saying like, oh, this is what they're going to do because they always do this. You're just saying, well, okay, they might say this, and then this is how I can respond, or go ahead and make a educated guess about like what their feelings and needs might be, and like how you can communicate that. Yeah, I'll put 2 minutes on the clock for that, and then you can talk about it, nonviolent communication in general, and then close out for the day. Just about 30 seconds left on the clock. All right. Yeah, if anyone wants to come off mute and say some things about empathy, about communicating and nonviolent communication, about anything we talked about this workshop, last workshop. We can like spend like 5 minutes just talking, and then the last minute I'll show the closeout slide, and that'll be that. But feel free to come off mute or drop something in the chat.
I had something that came up. Can I share that?
Yes, please.
Thank you. When I was thinking about what the person might respond, and I didn't like the response, and I thought what I might say is, I hear that you have reasons or needs why you don't want to do that. I still feel that as a need, but I release you from responsibility for filling that.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I think it's really important to be clear when in conflict that like what responsibilities are, and like what if like you are not obligated to do anything here, and I feel like a lot of times like that is what is like happening in conflict, at least for like myself, or like in relationships. We're like, well, no, you're obligated to be doing this thing, but that is not clear, or it's not hasn't been like actually talked out, and so it really is like a demanding punishment relationship.
I thought in a way too, I really liked the release back to you part, because it was a realignment of whose obligation it is to meet needs individually. Ultimately, we are, I believe at least, we have the responsibility to make sure our needs are met, and a collective responsibility to help, each other meet their needs. But at the end of the day, we can't put that responsibility on us if someone else doesn't want to make a decision that we believe would help them meet that need. We're releasing that back onto them. And it was kind of a nicer way of saying, basically, okay, it's your choice, you get what you get. It was a nonviolent way of saying that, because I've definitely said what Moon had suggested, but in a very non-violent way, like, well, don't let the door split you, like whatever happens. But in reality, the need I had at that moment was to release my culpability for what happens, and understanding that you're going to do what you do, and I can't be responsible for the result. And this is what I believe it will be if you do that. And I'm releasing that back to you. And that's power. Like, I got the chills when I heard that. Thank you, Moon.
Oof, not what y'all just said in the chat. I'm realizing how often I'm trying to diagnose, fix others when I know it's my turn. I mostly just want to be heard, understood. Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Wow. It really do be yeah, it's exactly about that. And like we like make it like about other people. We're like, well, this is their fault. Like people are the worst. And that's just that. It goes back to the quote at the beginning about like all violence being about like us making our pain about other people, like other people's blaming other people for our pain, and then like wanting to punish them for it. So it's like, okay, so I haven't been like heard, so I'm going to like diagnose and punish you for it.
That is a good question. How do we separate harm one has done to somebody from their enemy image? I don't want to assume what the message you intended, so I want to reflect back how I read that is when somebody has harmed us, how do we separate the fact that they've harmed us from the automatic enemy image that that harm gives to us? Is that kind of what you meant? Or Deja, how did you translate it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I thought more meta, like us like unlearning that's my train of thought. Unlearning like how to form enemy images, but still having to like deal with harm. So like basically unlearning disposability and like how to actually hold someone accountable is how I took the question. Okay, that cool. That's great. Well, yeah. I was gonna say quickly on that. Yeah, the last 3 workshops is about fostering conditions of accountability. So yeah, well, that's what we get into.
So stay tuned, but that's a great question. I struggle with that as a restorative justice practitioner all the time. One thing I will say quickly, I'm a surviving family member of a very violent crime. It was a homicide. And a lot of people trying to be comforting would say, oh, so-and-so, the person who did it, is a monster, is a monster, is a monster. And it used to bother me so much. And I was like, no, this is a human being that did this. This is a human being. This is one of us that did this to one of us. And I think there's this inherent urge to other people who have caused harm to us. We don't ever have to forgive or reconcile with anyone that causes harm. If I need to tell them to kick rocks forever, fine. But I cannot other them from their humanity, because then that makes me not culpable for harms I cause.
Yeah, that's it. It's a lot, especially when this is what we've been socialized into this shit here. So really like seeing someone, but also like recognizing your own needs, your own boundaries, actually being embedded in communities that like know and do accountability. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do, definitely on that. But yeah, so it's 7:30. Thanks so much for that question. Hopefully we answer it with the last 3. This is what we're suggesting for on your own practice between now and next time. So kind of the same, a little bit of the same. The first bullet point reads to write like a word on a sticky note, and then try to show up and embody that word each day. So I said at the beginning I had written abundance and alignment like during different weeks. So I have like a word a week sort of thing. Really like a word every 2 weeks. Yeah. And then start actually practice making observations, feelings, needs, and requests in real time. Just try it out. It's really hard to do it in real time, but even if you think about it like right after you did it, be like, all right, well, let me figure out what I could have said, and then maybe next time you'll actually remember to do it. But yeah, just at least try to like be thinking about those things within this time in next workshop. And then just sit down one time and reflect on like 1 or 2 instances of you either using it or not using it, and like you could have used it and this is how it could have went. Yeah. So that's like the do stuff. It's really like a spread out thing like over the time. And the last thing, you can just take like 10 to 15 minutes, like right before the workshop and think about 1 or 2 instances. And then I have the watch there is from the YouTube channel that we were going to watch but didn't get to. So like I said, she has a lot of great exercises on her YouTube channel. Definitely go to that. And then I'm suggesting read How Inuit Parents Teach Kids to Control Their Anger. It's a really good article about this Native community who don't yell or scream at all, but they use stories to like teach their children like cause and effect basically. And so I just wanted to show that a completely different way of life is possible, like a completely different way of communicating is possible, and that's just like what that's supposed to show. So that's 7:33 now. Sorry for going a little over. If you have any questions or anything, we can stick around to like 7:40, 7:45. All this on your own practice is in your workbook on page 42, but we're also sent it out an email to everyone you'll get the resources, all the videos you watched today, you'll get that. And then, yeah, and Facebook group too. Check out the Facebook group and post in the Facebook group too. The Facebook group is all our groups, so y'all can post in there if y'all want.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you, Ardesia, for all that insight. And I will be sending out a follow-up email in the next couple of days to everybody with a link to that Facebook group as well as a survey. The survey did help a lot, so please don't feel like you need to give us all 5s. If there's something we can do better, we want to do better. So adding that workbook, the numbers on the workbook was because someone gave that feedback. So please express your needs to us so that way we can, and your requests, so that way we can do our best to honor them.
Thank you, Ardesha. Thank you, Angel.
Thank you, Belle, for coming.
Bye, Beauty.
Enjoy your night.
You too.
Thank you. Good night.
Yes, thank you, Kieran. Good point. Thank you to everybody that shared, was vulnerable with us and shared, and thank you for everybody who attended and listened.